Welcome back to PS Weekly, the sound of the New York City school system. I'm Aponi Kafele. Remember this?
Huge crowds of people gathered in lower Manhattan, many skipping school for the day.
Today they traded class for climate change action.
Change is coming whether you like it or not.
We begin tonight with the march that filled the streets of lower Manhattan today with climate change activists of all ages. A lot of the protesters were students excused from school for the rally.
These future leaders skipping school to demand real action on climate change from those in charge now.
When I was 11, I was out protesting for climate change, okay? I was with my middle school buddies. We were coming back from the protest. We were just waiting at the bus stop. When all of a sudden, this man in his luxury car stops driving in the middle of the road to come and yell at us 11-year-olds like, y'all can't make me stop guzzling my gas. I'm going to continue driving this car, and you can't tell me what to do, leading to a surge of 5th graders yelling at him in the middle of the street. Well, a lot has happened since then, and I miss that enthusiasm. So, girl, how do you feel about climate change?
I'm Sanaa Stokes, and I don't really have any feelings about climate change because I feel like there's nothing I can do to make a change myself, so yeah.
Wish I had that dog in me. I do not. I've had climate anxiety since I was a kid, so it's always surprising to me when people can kind of not freak out about it. It's kind of a strength if you think about it.
I don't think about it.
Right. I've always wondered about other people's opinions on it because of my own strong feelings towards it. So in the spirit of this episode, we decided to go ask a couple students from our school.
My name is Andre, and I'm in the 12th grade.
My name is Amandre, and I'm in the 12th grade.
My name's Kat, and I'm in the 12th grade.
My name is Kai, and I'm in the 12th grade.
My name's Annalise, and I'm in the 12th grade.
Okay, guys, also don't feel like you need to show off for these questions. Just be completely honest. Like, that's what we're just trying to ask. How do you feel about climate change?
I don't really care for climate change. I'm sorry.
The thing is, I feel like in our education system, they don't really teach us to know about climate change a lot or have that much knowledge about it. So in my opinion, I don't really care.
I don't know much about climate change or care to know much about climate change.
I don't care, and we haven't learned anything.
I know it's destroying our planet, and it's going to kill us in the end, but our planet's going to still be here because that's how it's going to work.
Do you feel like you have a good understanding of what is causing climate change? Why or why not?
Not really, because all I really know is that, like, the fires are burning, but I know climate change causes, like, the forest fires and all that, so that's, maybe a big concern.
I know it has something to do with, like, pollution and everything, but that's really,
Not really, but I'm assuming something to do with factories.
It has to do with something with, like, fires and gas.
I agree with Kat. It has to do with, like, factories and, like, the gas going into the earth.
This feels a little crazy to listen to. Because of what we've gone through in the last couple of years, the NYC isn't thought of as a city that goes through a bunch of crazy climate catastrophes. We're not LA, we're not Florida. But just in the last couple of years with the flooding from Hurricane Ida and the wildfire smoke blowing over from Canada, I feel like I've seen my own perception of, like, the safety of New York City change. And I know certain friends of mine's perceptions have changed too. So I just thought that we'd hear a lot more from students who are worried about this.
I didn't. Apparently, I and all these people are anomalies, considering Earth.org reported about 1/3 of New Yorkers from 16 to 25 said that they were extremely concerned about climate change.
See, that makes sense. But I think climate change is a very New York problem. NYC is projected to lose 80,000 homes due to climate change in the next 15 years, according to the New York Times.
I think that's really sad. Maybe it's stats like these that lead to cynicism we saw in a lot of our peers who seem to have given up on helping our environment.
But not everyone has lost hope. For the past 3 months, my friend Alice has been trying to get a compost bin set up at our school. Now, composting is mandated in New York City, especially from schools. Yet our school never got anyone to pick up our bins, so it just goes in with the rest of the trash. Alice is looking to change that. What sparked your interest in environmental work?
If I'm being completely honest, I joined the Sixth Street Community Center Teen Climate Justice Program so that I could get community service hours, but then I absolutely fell in love with climate activism, and my passion grew over time, and the more you learn, the more you realize what an important, issue this is, and how, it's impossible to avoid being inspired by, an issue so vast and so important.
Let's see. Was there a specific moment that kind of piqued your interest?
I think probably when I went to Albany for the first time to lobby with assembly members and state senators with Sixth Street Community Center. I find the policy and political aspects more inspiring and just empowering. I just felt very strong when I was talking to politicians and actually asking them to directly make change that would have major impacts on climate change.
What is the composting program here at school?
Okay, so the composting program doesn't actually exist yet because I joined Green Team about, let's say 3 or 4 months ago. And immediately I was like, hey, I heard you guys were working on compost. And they were like, no, not really, but do you want to do that? And I was like, yes. So it's a work in progress because there's so much bureaucracy that you have to go through. And it's really like a project that is so large that you have to have people to help you in order to do it. I can't take out 6 compost bins every day by myself. I have other things I need to be doing, like class. And also, I can't carry 6 compost bins.
Can you describe, if the program was to go into motion, what it would entail? What is it step by step?
Okay, so ideally, we would be able to receive brown compost bins from the city because the DOE or I guess it's the sanitation department, they have something called curbside compost pickup where they'll give you bins and you can put your compost in them, and then at the end of the day you wheel them out to the curb and a sanitation truck will pick them up. However, for some reason our school does not receive curbside pickup, so ideally we would have compost bins that we would have seniors wheel over to the nearby elementary school, and so we can use their curbside pickup privilege.
So then what are the issues you've been running into as far as actually instituting the composting program?
Well, I had conversations with our school's custodian, head custodian. I'm not sure what her official title is. Shout out Teresa, I think. And I was basically she was like, come back when you have a plan and I'll help you get the bins. However, a plan entails having specific people who are in charge of transporting the compost bins, and I haven't been able to get that, so we haven't been able to receive the bins. And also, even if I was to receive the bins, we'd have to receive them through the DOE, which moves extremely slowly and never gets anything done quickly, which is stressful because we have 5 weeks left of school. So the DOE is, the way I see it, is like a giant spider web, for lack of a more original metaphor, that basically you every problem you have that you need to take with the DOE, you're like an ant crawling in to the web, except you're actually hoping for death because you want the spider to grab you and pay attention to you, but most of the time your problems don't get recognized.
That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that. That was Alice Schwartz, who goes to my school at Essex Street Academy. Later on, we'll check back in with her to see how it's going.
So clearly, Alice really hasn't given up on climate activism like the other students we talked to.
No, she hasn't.
Alice's interview made us think about how youth activism starts in the first place. At the start of this episode, we heard from students who'd said they weren't taught about climate change at all.
Right.
Climate Families is an organization trying to change that with family-friendly activism. Like recently, the co-founder, Leah Olenek, told me about a visit to New York State Governor Kathy Hochul's office for a campaign they're calling Hurry Up Hochul.
Because we need her to hurry up and lead on climate and pass important climate bills like the New York Heat Act, and also ensure that the state is meeting the mandates of our state climate law. We created a character Kathy Slocum, who's a snail version of the governor. So we did an action outside her New York City office where we had like someone dressed up in a giant snail costume, but with a blazer and pearls on. And we wrote a storybook about Kathy Slocum and kids telling her to hurry up and lead on climate. We had kids were, at the action were dressed up as little snails.
Climate Families is trying to make activism fun.
The climate crisis is very scary, and the best way to mediate that is to engage children in things that are purposeful and empowering. And the fact that they'll be able to look back and remember, oh yeah, I went to like all these protests with my parents and we did all these fun, like kooky, creative things and sang songs about climate change and made art and all of that. I think that's like the most reassuring thing I could offer them in facing climate change and the climate crisis. So that's also really important to me.
That was Leah Olenek, co-founder of Climate Families.
Coming up after the break, a breakthrough in Alice's story.
We hope you enjoy listening to PS Weekly as much as we enjoy making it. I'm Amy Zimmer with Chalkbeat New York. We spend a lot of time planning each episode, setting up and conducting interviews, cutting the tape, writing scripts. It's a long process and totally worth it. But here's the thing. We don't have a bunch of money or millions of followers. So we're counting on you, loyal listener, to help us get the word out. Take a few seconds and send this link wherever you're listening to 3 friends so they too can enjoy PS Weekly. Thanks for your support.
This is PS Weekly. I'm Aponi.
And I'm Sanaa. Let's check back in on Alice's story.
Alice and I decided to talk with our principal together about the status of her composting program. But when we arrived in his office, he called up someone completely different, a real expert. Hannah Epstein is a sustainability specialist for the DOE, and she worked with schools to educate and improve sustainability protocols.
So, can you state your name and what you do?
My name is Hannah Epstein, she, her pronouns. I am a sustainability specialist for Districts 2 and 9 in New York City. Sustainability specialist at the New York City Public Schools Office of Energy and Sustainability.
I'm going to let Alice explain to you what the kind of composting project at our school has been looking like.
Okay, hi. So, I was like, okay, how do we get compost in the schools? And I heard about the curbside compost pickup that's supposed to like go to every single school. But when I talked to our like chief, like our chief custodian person, so I don't know her official title, she was like, no, we don't get curbside compost pickup. And I was like, okay, that's like makes this a lot more complicated. I wonder why. So my current plan is to have students take the compost bins over to the nearby elementary school who does receive curbside compost pickup, but I was just kind of wondering why we didn't get the curbside compost pickup.
So, all public schools do receive curbside composting. That being said, not every school has had it set up yet, and that's kind of where I come in. So for schools that don't receive the composting service, sometimes there's a few different reasons. Sometimes the school has changed location, or it's under lease ownership and it's not a property that's owned by New York City Public Schools. Sometimes the school's like a brand new building, and so sometimes there's just issues with Department of Sanitation and there's updates that they're not familiar with. So as of now, there really shouldn't be any need for you guys to bring your waste to the elementary school, though I absolutely love that enthusiasm to do that. But really the next step is to work on the education. Custodian engineers, which is the formal title, custodian engineers are trained that if the waste is highly contaminated, to just treat it all as trash. So if the waste, if there aren't bins in the first place, or if there are bins, but students either don't care or they don't know how to properly sort, if the waste is contaminated, Department of Sanitation will not collect it as compost or even the recycling. They will just put it in with the trash because it's not up to them to sort it.
Okay, yeah, totally, I agree. And I was like planning on educating once we had like a system in place and I knew it was worth it. So just to clarify, are you saying that we are in process of having curbside compost pickup come to our school, or like is that not gonna happen?
Your school should definitely be receiving composting. In fact, I'm actually going to pull up on the back end when you guys should have started receiving this service. Let's see. All right. So this is actually kind of a fun fact. According to our data, I mean, of course, and our data is not like 100% flawless, but it's pretty close to it. Your school building should have been receiving compost since fall of 2014, which is one of the very first schools when this program initially started over 10 years ago. So the fact that you guys have not been receiving service is definitely kind of like troublesome to know. But like I said, this is kind of where I come in. So I would love to talk with you and, get education sorted. And, while my waste manager is handling the operations side of stuff, the Department of Sanitation. This is the kind of thing that we really, we love to hear the activism from students and get them really engaged in this, because this wouldn't have been a problem that I would have heard about if not for you, and the Department of Sanitation wouldn't have complained anything because you guys have a compactor. So there was no way for them to know that you aren't composting because your trash just goes, it's handled separately.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Thank you so much, actually. I'm really happy that this is actually gonna work. Would you do the education, or would it be up to students in school or teachers in school, or would you send someone in?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, typically what I'll do is I'll come in, I'll do a kickoff meeting with principals and with the custodian engineer and with the sustainability coordinator, and basically explain to them why it's so important, because usually you kind of have to explain in the first place, which is that kind of sucks, but it's understandable if you've been doing something for so long, especially with COVID. I can't tell you how many schools I work with where they had a great recycling and compost system set up, but then 2 years of remote school, students kind of forgot how to sort, and bins were misplaced or broken or something because they weren't being used. And this could be even the case for your school. I often see that we kind of have to kick it back up again. Sometimes, I can only come in for an assembly, or sometimes I will go into the cafeteria and, in real time during lunch periods, I'll help students to sort their waste. I love working with green teams and with students. I mean, you guys are high schoolers. You kind of know that, teenagers, they kind of need to be convinced a little bit more. And, that's where in the kickoff meeting, we would kind of discuss what works best for that school and that school's culture.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for meeting with us.
Of course.
That was so educational.
Very much so.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to come visit your school at some point, either this week or next week. So I'd love to meet you guys in person, really, and kind of carry on the momentum that you've started.
Oh, yes. Us too. I'm that sounds perfect. I can't wait to actually get the ball rolling in this process, because it's been kind of slow and a lot of stops and goes. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I believe it. And I can definitely give you an update when my colleague hears back from the Department of Sanitation as well.
Yeah, thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. It was so great talking with you guys.
Yeah, you too. Have a nice afternoon.
You too.
Thank you, you too.
Bye. Wallace, you're literally the GOAT. You're literally the GOAT.
That was so. She's gonna come and meet with us. I don't know how much you were listening, but we're gonna get curbside.
Wow, so it was that conversation that finally got your school to start composting.
I think so. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, but, Right after that call, Alice and I caught up to see how she felt.
Where did you feel like you were before we talked to Hannah?
Struggling, not really. I didn't really think I was going to be able to implement compost this year. I thought it was going to be the senior year situation, which stressed me out even more because college apps, they're a lot. So I was kind of disappointed in the progress that I was making.
And I've kind of been making this podcast about kind of how we're passing off the climate change problem to different things. And I think sometimes when we talk about student activism and the wins that we get with student activism, we tend to place a lot of emphasis on oh, these kids did this thing by themselves and they figured it out and they didn't need anyone else. But I feel like in this situation, it's actually coming together with the people who are responsible for the composting program that got us what we need.
Yeah, I find that a lot of activism is just asking for stuff. When I lobby in Albany, I ask politicians to support the laws that we created. You're not expected to save the world and create all this stuff. A lot of it is just asking capable adults to do their jobs.
Cheers for composting.
It made me really happy that speaking up about what we saw at our school inspired our principal to take action. Even though it's not going to solve global warming, it's a step in the right direction.
I'm happy for you. You're right, it's not going to solve global warming, but it's nice to see that small changes can still happen when we advocate for what we want to change.
PS Weekly is a collaboration between The Bell and Chalkbeat, made possible by the generous support from the Pinkerton Foundation, the Summerfield Foundation, and FJC.
Producers for this episode were me, Sanaa Stokes.
And me, Aponi Kafele.
Our executive producer for the show is Ave Correa, and our executive editors are Amy Zimmer and Taylor McGraw.
Additional production and reporting support was provided by Mira Gordon, Sabrina Duquesne, and our friends at Chalkbeat. Our engagement editor is Carolina Hidalgo.
This episode was made using Hindenburg Pro, music is from Blue Dot Sessions, and the jingle you heard at the beginning of this episode was created by Erica Wong. Shout out to our mentor, Lena Richards.
And my principal, Wallace Simpson.